wars, especially big, catastrophic ones, we always ask the same questions. Why did this happen? What did we learn? Because if we don't learn something, then all the suffering, destruction, and death feels pointless. So societies tend to compress wars into simple lessons, clean ones, comfortable ones. And World War II is usually turned into fascism bad, democracy good, which is neat, marketable, teachable in schools, and also not how history works, especially not in Asia or Europe. But before we talk about the real lesson of World War II in Asia, we first need to talk about the wrong lessons we keep trying to force onto it.
雪花飘飘。
There are a few extremely popular takes about World War II in Asia that sound smart, feel moral, and fall apart the moment you look at them for more than 5 seconds.
北风萧萧。
This one dies instantly, because most of Asia in 1939 wasn't ruled by fascists, it was ruled by Britain, France, the Netherlands, which were not fascist states, they were empires, and the Allies did not go to war in Asia to liberate colonized peoples. They went into war to get their colonies back. If this were about ideology, decolonization would have happened and started in 1945. And fun fact, it didn't.
叫天地。
Also note, Japan lost its empire. The idea of an empire survived just fine, at least at first. Britain returned to Malaya, France returned to Vietnam, the Dutch returned to Indonesia, and they only stopped, well, because they were forced to.
一片
In Europe, mostly. In Asia, that story becomes complicated. Because to millions of Asians, 1945 didn't look like liberation. It looked like new rulers wearing old flags. So if none of these lessons actually explain what happened, then what does? So when people talk about World War II, there's a very common story that goes something like this. The Allies fought to the Axis, fascism was defeated, democracy won. The end. And in Europe, that story, while simplified, isn't completely wrong actually. But then we shift the camera east. Well, World War II was less about ideology and more about imperialism smashing into other imperialism at terminal velocity. And today we're answering a very dangerous question. What was the real lesson of World War II in Asia? Spoiler, it's not democracy good, fascism bad. It's much more uncomfortable than that. First, quick context. By the early 20th century, Asia was essentially European empires everywhere, Japan showing up late and choosing violence, and local populations having an extremely bad time. Japan looked at the British Empire, the French Empire, the Dutch Empire, and said, "So imperialism is cool when you guys do it?" And then Japan did imperialism harder. This is important because Japan didn't see itself as the villain of the story. They genuinely believed Western imperialism was hypocritical, Asia should be ruled by Asians, and Japan just happened to be in charge of that. Yes, this is where the phrase Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere enters, which was basically liberation. But you still do what we say. So already the war in Asia is not democracy versus fascism, it's imperial powers fighting over who gets there in Asia. This is where people get uncomfortable. Because in Asia, the Allies included Britain, an empire, France, an empire, the Netherlands, an empire, the United States, an anti-imperial empire in denial. And when Japan attacked in 1941 to 1942, something shocking happened. The Western empires, plus the USA, collapsed instantly. Singapore, gone. The Philippines, occupied. French Indochina, already barely holding together. The Dutch East Indies, absolutely finished. To many Asians, though, this didn't look like, oh no, the good guys are losing. It looked like, wait, the Europeans can bleed? This matters because after 1945, the Allies tried to go back to the exact same colonial systems. And Asia collectively responded with, no. Let's be very clear. Imperial Japan committed war crimes, mass atrocities, crimes so horrific they still affect politics today. Japan was not the hero of Asia, but, and this is the uncomfortable historical reality, Japan proved that Western empires were not invincible, and once that illusion shattered, it never came back. After 1945, Vietnam fought France, Indonesia fought the Dutch, India pushed Britain out in 1947, China finished its civil war, and suddenly European rule in Asia collapsed, disappeared, everywhere. Not because the Allies won, but because the system could no longer justify itself. So what is the real lesson of World War II in Asia? It's not totalitarianism, hard word, always loses. It's not democracy saves the world. The real lesson is this. Imperialism creates wars it cannot control. Once exposed, it cannot survive. World War II didn't end empire in Asia because the Allies were already enlightened. It ended empire because Asian populations saw the weakness. Nationalist movements gained momentum, and the old excuses. They just stopped working. Japan lost the war, but the colonial world lost its legitimacy. And nothing after 1945 was ever the same. So next time someone says World War II was good versus evil, just remember, in Asia, it was evil versus evil, and the result was the destruction of an entire global system. History isn't comfortable, it isn't clean, and it definitely doesn't fit these new Marvel movies. But that's why it matters.